I'm an ardent believer in the truth that ideas are powerful, and right ideas can change the history of time. It can redefine history, and also it can revolutionize the world. Ideas are relevant and they are needed to national development. Ideas are necessary for great business, for excellent enterprises. There is nothing that we can do, especially if you intend to do it very well, without ideas. So ideas are necessary. Ideas are important. When God was creating the world, he had an idea in mind. He wanted to create a kind of world that will beautify his glory, that will bring smiles to his face, that will make him to be proud enough to say, this is what I have done, and it's a job well done. When he wanted to create man, he had a specific picture in mind, an idea of someone who will look exactly like him, speak like him, and also represent his heavenly supremacy on earth. So it's good for us to know that there is nothing that we can do without an idea. And again, ideas make life easier for people. It makes things work well. Look at those days when we never had a mobile phone. It's hard to get across to your kinsmen. Even people have lost loved ones because they couldn't communicate it on time, especially to people that can be of help to them. People have lost jobs because they couldn't even meet up at the appointed time because of communication problem. Look at those days when we had no cars. Look at those stone age days or stone days when everything you have to do was to go by the idea of the technology around the stone. Why those technology are very important, you realize that things are changing and the world is dynamic. And that dynamism is what make all of us to start thinking differently about what we can do in making the world a better place, not only for ourselves, but also for others. If you have heard the story of Dubai, you understand that it was an idea that someone picked up and used to change everything. And it has now become a place where everyone wants to visit. When you hear the story of someone like Lee Kuan Yew, with regards to how he developed Singapore, it was an idea. Christopher Columbus that discovered America in 17th century was out of an idea. So it means that ideas are powerful and there is nothing that we can do without an idea. But it's also good to say that for you to start thinking about developing a new idea, you have to study the trends. You have to study the trends. What are the things emerging? What are the things going on now? How do people respond to those things? What are the things that have changed when you look at it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago? And what is in vogue now, for example? So you need to understand and study the trends. And part of the way to develop a good idea is to ride on trends. And when I say trends, they are things that presently we can't do without. That is where the world is heading to. That is what is like taking the attention of the world at present. So people ride on trends in the process of understanding or developing a new idea, or even thinking through an idea that could help people. Again, you need to understand patterns. You need to understand patterns. So when you look at 10 years ago, what has changed? And it is not only What changed? How did it change? And what has that change done to people in terms of their lives, in terms of their career, in terms of their ministry, in terms of even taking care of their children? You need to understand patterns. So, how do people relate to things now? What are the benefits of social media? How do that affect people's business? How does it contribute to people's career development? You need to understand patterns. So when you look at most businesses that have helped people or billionaires in the world that have great ideas, there were people that leverage patterns. They understood patterns. They know that it works like this. They use that pattern, but again, they conceptualized the pattern by also understanding evolving systems. By the time you know that this is the pattern and the world is dynamic, you don't sit there. You take a step ahead by throwing a concept or developing a concept around evolving system. Things are evolving daily. Things are changing. And because those things are changing, your idea must not be static. Or you can't develop an idea that doesn't have the tendency to evolve and get better with the momentary change and evolving system globally. So you need to understand how you can now go ahead with this evolving system and repattern it. So people understand the fact that the system is evolving or the system are evolving. Then you have to learn how to repattern the system. That is the way to do it. And in the process of repatterning the system, you have to understand what I describe as power alignment. It is good for you to know that the system are evolving. You understood patterns. You are trying to repattern the system, but you can't do that without understanding what it means to do proper power alignment. What is needed? What is available? What is needed? What is available? What can you do to what is needed using what is available? You have to understand how you can align pattern. And beyond aligning pattern, you need to take advantage of the missing gaps. Take advantage of the missing gaps. And for you to take advantage of the missing gap, you have to ask yourself, is there any specific problem you want to solve? Is there any problem you want to solve? And how realistic is your solution? Or how realistic is your approach to solving that problem? And how relevant is this problem? Because you might want to solve a problem, but it's not relevant. It's not relevant to time. And when you look at it very well, in the next maybe 5 years, 10 years time, it should be lost in the dustbin of history because it's not relevant. Then you need to start asking yourself, how reasonable is this idea? Kind of when you are understanding the missing gaps, how reasonable it is. So sometimes it might not really make business sense. It might not make research sense. It might not fulfill technical demands and requirements, but it must still be within the concept of relevance and reality. It is very, very important. So situate your idea between relevance and reality, and that makes it reasonable. And also, how does it appeal to the conscience of the users? Because your idea most time is not for you. Your idea is not about you. You are trying to solve a problem, and you have been able to define that problem, that it is specific, it is realistic, it's relevant, it's reasonable. But how does it appeal to the users? Do they really want to use it? Is your idea user-friendly? Do they have to study or go to school for them to leverage your idea? How affordable is your idea? And how flexible is your idea? In the sense that, does your idea have consistent application? And can they leverage your idea for other things they are doing? So, by implication, I mean that, is your idea there to solve multiple problems? Because one of the key things that could be very, very helpful to humanity is ideas that could solve more than one problem. For example, it could solve communication problem. It could solve ability to see well. It could give us lightning. Beyond that, it could help us to be more calmer, or give us coolness, or give us beauty, or help us to be able to tell if we have this certain level of blood pressure. So, as in, you have to look at it in multiple dimension. Okay, not just in one way or two dimensions. You have to look at it in 3D, in 4D, from helicopter point of view. You have to look at it in depth, directionally and dimensionally. Okay, so that is what it means to be appealing to the conscience of the user. So it's good to learn to take advantage of the missing gap, but you have to understand what problem do you want to solve. And this problem, how do they apply to the system? And in also understanding the benefit of the missing gap, you need to ask yourself, this problem you intend to solve, what have been done about it? Is there anything people have done about this problem? Because if they have done something about it, why do you want to repeat what others have done? It will look like a waste of time. Sometimes it could be it might be like you are trying to waste resources. Like it looks like they have done it already. So why do you want to worry about the idea? So you need to ask yourself, what have people done about the idea? That is why research is very important. It gives you an idea of what people have already done. And now it makes you to look out for things that you can do differently. They have done A, they have done B, they have done C. But they have not looked at the effect of A on B and how A and B can affect C. That becomes a new idea within the already developed idea or the problem that has been solved before. So what would you do differently? Are you trying to understand the fact that they made a mistake? You want to correct it? Is there an error with regards to what they have done? Are there lapses that you think you can fill up? And for you to be able to do all of these, you need to understand what I describe as orientation of new ideals. The orientation of new ideals with regards to idea development is the only thing that can make you to shape culture. The essence of an idea is to change something, is to make things better, make people's lives better, make things easier or makes things easier, give us an opportunity to do things better. If you are struggling with it before, now it is not a problem any longer. If I have to use 10 minutes in the past, now I can do it in 10 seconds, at most in 1 minute. It took me 20 hours. It took me 4 days, but now I can do it within 5 hours. So things become well orientated because it's a new ideal in terms of in terms of you are trying to shape culture. And when you understand this culture shaping power of the idea, so it gives you a better understanding of how it can be applied to what is going on around you. But again, you need a framework in terms of this orientation. What is your framework? What is the concept about? And what is the means? What is the message and what method are you using in the process of passing the message, developing the message, or helping people to know better. So one of the things that is very important when it comes to ideas, especially in terms of new ideas, and developing that idea to help people, is it's always good to achieve success where others have failed. That's one beautiful thing about ideas. Your idea must be able to help you to achieve worthwhile success where others have failed. And it involves the fact that you might have to learn to do things differently. And beyond that, doing what others have done before in a different way. You have to learn to do what others have done before in a different way. And beyond that, it is not easy to do what others haven't done. It's really hard to find people to do what others haven't done. And that's why they tell you there are no new ideas anywhere in the world. All the ideas you have and that people use or people have developed, it's like they are taking advantage of what was already in existence. And that is very beautiful. And when you look at even when God was creating man, God has created things ahead. He made use of those things already in existence to make a man after his likeness. So sometimes it might be difficult for you to do what others haven't done, but you can do what others have done before in a different way. One of the best ways to define success is to do what others have done before in a different way. And sometimes it might look like you are trying to, or it might involve you trying to correct mistakes or errors. It might also be like you are trying to nullify notions and also cancel out some beliefs. And this might also include you asking new questions to generate new hypotheses that can lead to new ideas. And besides, it's also good for you to know that part of shaping culture is to respond to future perspectives. Now, they'll tell you there's an idea for 10 years. What I mean by idea for 10 years is that it's not going to come to fruition or it's not going to change anything until it is 10 years. So they'll tell you this idea will not work until it's after 20 years. It is now your duty, if you have to shape culture, to respond to that future perspective. Because it's more like a recommendation on things that will work in the days to come. So you take advantage of those recommendations to understand the missing gaps, take advantage of these gaps, orientate new ideas, and before you know, you are going to shape culture. It's good to say that while we are understanding how this works, self-development is very important.